You think you are afraid of the market, but the truth is, the market is not creating your fear. You are creating it yourself. The market is neutral. It has no intention. It is not against you. It is not for you. Fear begins the moment you try to control what cannot be controlled. The moment you expect certainty in an environment that offers none. The moment you believe that your next trade should work. This is where the problem starts. Your mind is wired for certainty. Your survival system treats uncertainty as a threat. When the outcome is unknown, your brain interprets it as danger. Your dopamine system seeks predictable reward. And when that prediction fails, emotional discomfort is created. So fear is not coming from the market. It is coming from your expectation. When you enter a trade, you carry an assumption. You believe, consciously or unconsciously, that this trade should be right. That belief creates attachment, and that attachment activates your ego. Now, the trade is no longer just a trade. It becomes a reflection of you. If the trade fails, it feels like you have failed. This is why you hesitate. This is why you move your stop loss. This is why you struggle to accept losses. Because you are trying to control the outcome. But there is a simple reality. You do not control outcomes. The market is a system of endless variables. Each moment is unique. Each trade is independent. No outcome is guaranteed. Anything can happen. When you resist this truth, fear is inevitable. Because your mind is searching for certainty where none exists. This creates internal conflict. On one side, you know the market is unpredictable. On the other side, you expect to predict it. This contradiction produces fear. If you want to eliminate fear, you do not need to change the market. You need to change your expectations. When you accept that you are not in control, something shifts. When you detach from the outcome, clarity begins to form. Stop trying to control the market. Learn to control yourself. The market does not care. And until you understand this at a deep level, fear will remain. Your biggest psychological conflict is not with the market. It is with uncertainty. You want certainty. And the market does not offer certainty. This is the root of fear. Every trade is an independent event. That means the trade you are about to take has no connection to the previous one. It does not matter if you won the last 5 trades or lost them. The next outcome is still unknown. But your brain does not function this way. The human brain searches for patterns. It is designed for survival. If there is a sound in the environment, the brain quickly builds a pattern and assumes danger. This mechanism protects you. In the market, you apply the same process. You search for certainty in charts. You turn indicators into guarantees. You begin to believe that this time it will work. And when reality does not match that expectation, anxiety appears. Because you never truly accepted uncertainty. You enter a trade, but internally you expect it to work. When price moves slightly against you, your nervous system reacts. Your heart rate increases. Your focus narrows. The brain shifts into a survival response. This fear is not caused by the market. It is caused by your expectation. You are demanding certainty where none exists. Anything can happen. This is not just a phrase. It is a structural truth. In the market, every outcome is possible. Each trade contains randomness. You operate with an edge, but an edge is not a guarantee. It only provides a probability over a large sample of trades. On a single trade, anything can happen. But your brain assigns importance to each trade. Why? Ego. You want to be right. You want your analysis to be validated. You resist losses because they feel like a threat to your identity. So you reject uncertainty. And when you reject it, you create internal resistance. That resistance becomes anxiety. Consider this carefully. If you genuinely accept that the next outcome is unknown, if you are mentally prepared for a loss, if you remain internally neutral, then fear has no foundation because you are not expecting a specific result. You are only executing. The market is not personal. The market is not against you. The market simply moves. Your job is not to predict. Your job is to participate with defined risk. As long as you search for certainty, your system will remain in conflict. When you accept uncertainty, your system becomes stable. Anything can happen. And inside that acceptance, there is emotional freedom. You think the market is reacting to you. You think it is rewarding you when you win and punishing you when you lose. This belief is subtle, but it is destructive. When a trade works, you feel validated. You feel smart. You feel in control. Your brain releases dopamine. It marks the experience as success. When a trade fails, the opposite happens. You feel wrong. You feel exposed. You feel like something is missing in you. This is not analysis. This is identity attachment. You are no longer observing the market. You are experiencing it personally. The market moves. You interpret. The outcome is neutral. Your brain assigns meaning. And this is where the distortion begins. A winning trade becomes proof that you are right. A losing trade becomes proof that you are flawed. Now, the trade is not just a trade. It becomes a reflection of you. This creates pressure, and pressure creates fear. Not fear of losing money, fear of being wrong. Your brain is wired for survival. It avoids threats to identity. When you believe a loss defines you, your brain treats it like danger. This triggers hesitation. You delay execution. You skip valid setups. Or you exit early to protect yourself. Then when you finally act, it is no longer clean execution. It is emotional reaction. This is why inconsistency appears. Not because your strategy is weak, because your interpretation is emotional. You are trying to protect yourself from something that does not exist. The market does not reward you. The market does not punish you. The market does not care. It simply moves. Each trade is independent. It has no memory of your last trade, no awareness of your intentions. But you bring memory into it. You bring expectation. You bring identity. And that creates conflict. You expect the next trade to validate you, or you fear it will expose you again. Both are illusions. Anything can happen. The outcome does not define you, but you have trained your mind to believe it does. That belief creates fear, and fear destroys execution. As long as you take outcomes personally, you will never see the market clearly. You will react instead of execute. You will protect instead of follow process. And the cycle will repeat. The shift is simple, but not easy. You must separate yourself from the result. A trade is not a judgment. It is an event. A loss is not failure. It is information. Until you remove meaning from outcomes, you will remain emotionally exposed. And as long as you are exposed, you will never be consistent. The market does not care, but you act like it does. That is the problem. You think your problem is strategy. It is not. Your problem is what happens in the moment of uncertainty. Watch your behavior closely. Right before you enter a trade, something shifts. You hesitate. The setup is valid. The rules are clear. But your mind starts negotiating. It searches for certainty that does not exist. That hesitation is not logic. It is fear responding to uncertainty. The brain is wired for survival, not for probability. When money is at risk, your system treats it like a threat. Dopamine drops. Cortisol rises. You begin to avoid action. Not because the trade is wrong, but because the outcome is unknown. Then you finally enter. And the moment the trade goes slightly against you, fear intensifies. Now you move your stop loss. You widen the risk. You tell yourself the market will come back. This is not analysis. This is avoidance of loss. You are trying to escape discomfort. When the trade moves in your favor, something else happens. You exit early. You secure small profits. Not because the plan says so, but because your mind wants relief. You are not following a system. You are managing emotions. Then comes the opposite extreme. A loss hits. And instead of accepting it as one outcome in a series, you react. You enter again. Quickly. Without structure. This is revenge trading. It feels like control. But it is only emotional compensation. None of this is about your strategy. Your edge has not changed. The market has not changed. Your behavior has. Each of these actions is a direct response to uncertainty. You are trying to control what cannot be controlled. And in doing so, you destroy the only thing that matters. Execution. Execution is everything. Without consistent execution, your strategy has no meaning. A good system applied inconsistently produces random results. A mediocre system applied consistently can produce stability. The market does not care about your fear. It does not adjust to your hesitation. It does not reward your need to be right. Anything can happen. Each trade is independent. It has no memory, no obligation to your last outcome. When you interfere with execution, you break this statistical flow of your edge. This is why you feel stuck. Not because you lack knowledge, but because your behavior is unstable. You are not trading your system. You are trading your emotions. And until that changes, nothing else will. You are approaching the market from the wrong place. You are not treating a trade as a decision. You are treating it as a judgment. And that is where the problem begins. You believe you need to know what will happen next. You search for certainty. But the market does not offer certainty. It offers possibilities. This is where the shift begins. When you start thinking in probabilities, you stop isolating individual trades. A single trade loses its emotional weight because your edge does not play out in one trade. It plays out over a series. One trade can do anything. It can win. It can lose. It can go nowhere. Anything can happen. And when you truly accept that, the need to be right on every trade disappears. Your focus changes from prediction to execution, from outcome to process, from emotion to structure. You no longer take a trade because you believe it will win. You take a trade because it meets your predefined criteria, because it aligns with your edge. Nothing more. Now understand what is happening in your brain. Your system is wired for reward. When you predict correctly, you receive a dopamine response. It creates the illusion of control. It makes you feel certain. But it is not control. It is reinforcement of a flawed belief. When the trade goes against you, your brain interprets it as a threat. A survival response activates. Fear increases. Hesitation appears. You try to avoid loss or chase it back. All of this comes from assigning importance to a single outcome. Probabilistic thinking removes that pressure. You begin to say, I do not know what this trade will do, and I do not need to know. What matters is that if I execute my edge consistently across a large sample, the results will align in my favor. That belief changes your behavior. Loss is no longer personal. A win is no longer emotional validation. Both are just outcomes, random outcomes. Your role is not to control them. Your role is to execute. And when you operate from this position, your nervous system stabilizes. There's no urgency, no need to force anything, no need to prove anything. There is only observation. There is only execution. The market is not against you. The market is not for you. It is simply moving. And you are participating in that movement with a statistical edge. One trade means nothing. The series is what matters. You stop being a trader of individual outcomes. You become a trader of probabilities. And from this point, discipline is no longer something you try to force. It becomes a natural extension of how you think. Because you are no longer trying to control outcomes, you are simply following your process. Anything can happen. And in that acceptance, there is clarity. Fear is not removed by confidence. Fear is removed by structure. When you feel hesitation before entering a trade, it is not because the market is unclear. It is because your decisions are not defined in advance. The brain seeks certainty. When there is none, it activates a survival response. This response is not logical. It is protective. It is driven by dopamine imbalance, loss aversion, and ego preservation. If you decide in the moment, you create internal conflict. One part of you wants opportunity. Another part wants safety. This conflict is what you experience as fear. Structured execution removes that conflict. A professional approach begins before the trade exists. Entry criteria are predefined, not loosely understood. Define. You do not feel a setup. You identify it based on conditions that are already decided. Risk is fixed, not adjusted based on emotion, not increased after losses, not reduced after fear. Every trade carries the same predefined exposure. The stop loss is non-negotiable. It is placed at a logical level, not an emotional one. Once placed, it is not moved to avoid discomfort. Position size is consistent. It reflects your risk model, not your confidence level. Confidence is irrelevant. Execution is everything. When these variables are decided before the trade, something shifts internally. There is no longer a need to think under pressure. The decision is already made. Now you are not reacting. You are executing. Execution removes interpretation. It removes hesitation. It removes emotional negotiation. The outcome is still uncertain. That does not change. Anything can happen. But your behavior becomes stable. And stability is what reduces fear. Fear comes from unpredictability in your own actions, not from the market itself. The market does not care. It does not create fear. Your lack of structure does. When you follow a defined process, each trade becomes just another event, not a personal test, not a moment of judgment, just execution. Over time, the brain adapts. The survival response weakens because there is no longer a threat to identity. You are not trying to be right. You are trying to be consistent. This is the shift. You stop asking, will this trade work? You start asking, did I execute correctly? That question has an answer you control. And control over behavior replaces fear of outcome. Execution is everything. Without structure, you are exposed to your emotions. With structure, your emotions become irrelevant. And in that state, fear has nothing to attach to. At some point, you have to understand that fearless trading is not confidence. It is acceptance. Confidence still carries expectation. It still wants a specific outcome. It still reacts when the outcome is different. Acceptance does not. Acceptance means you already understand that anything can happen. Not intellectually, operationally. You stop asking the market to confirm you. You stop looking for emotional reassurance. You stop needing to feel right. Because being right is no longer your objective. Execution is. The shift happens quietly. You take the trade because it fits your rules. Not because it feels good, not because it looks strong, not because you want to recover a loss. Just because it is there. And once you are in, there is no internal negotiation, no second guessing, no emotional interference. The outcome is irrelevant in the moment because one trade means nothing. Your brain will resist this. It is wired for survival. It wants certainty. It wants control. It wants to avoid pain. But the market offers none of these, so you stop demanding them. Fear disappears when the need for control disappears. Not because the market became safer, but because you stopped expecting safety. You accept the risk fully before you enter, not after. And once risk is accepted, there is nothing left to fear. This is where discipline becomes natural, not forced, not exhausting, not something you struggle to maintain, because your identity has changed. You are no longer an outcome seeker. You are a process executor. You measure success by consistency, by adherence, by alignment with your system, not by profit. Profit becomes a byproduct. The market does not care. It never did. And that is your advantage, because once you stop needing it to care, you are finally free to operate within it correctly. Calm, neutral, structured. Anything can happen, and that no longer disturbs you.